Imagine waking up every day feeling like you're trapped in a nightmare. That was my reality after experiencing trauma. But here's the thing, there's a whole world of light waiting for you on the other side. Today, we're diving into the Emerge and Empower podcast, where survivors share their journeys from darkness to triumph. You'll hear stories that'll give you goosebumps, make you cry, and ultimately inspire you. From PTSD to healing, from isolation to community, these tales prove that trauma doesn't define you. It's time to reclaim your power, break free from the chains of your past, and step into a life filled with hope and purpose. Are you ready to emerge stronger and more empowered than ever before? Let's dive in and discover the life that's waiting for you after trauma.
Welcome to Emerge and Empower Podcast TV, a platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m. with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.
Hello, everyone. Once again, welcome to Emerge and Empower with your host, Dr. Lynn J. And as you know, we are here every week bringing you more empowerment and uplifting stories of individuals who have gone through traumatic experiences and are here to share those stories with you. I pray that it's helping you heal in your healing journey. Healing is continuous. Healing is a lifetime. Some of these incidents might have only happened, but in a moment. For some, it might have been years of going through the trauma. It takes time, and I want you to allow yourself the time to heal. But first of all, you need to forgive yourself. You are not responsible for what had happened to you. On today, we have another guest that will be coming on and sharing her story on her traumatic experience. Do you have a story to tell? This is the platform to voice your story. You need a place to voice it. Well, Emerge and Empower is that platform. So I encourage you to let a friend know. Tell your mother, your father, individuals in your family that you know that might have gone through a traumatic experience. There is no shame in this. This is time to heal, and it's time to heal for real. Again, you are not responsible for what had happened to you. Release yourself, let go, and truly glow on today. So we have our guest that will be coming on today as she'll be sharing her own story, and I would like to introduce her to our audience. Allow me a moment. It's taking time to bring up your information. All right. For the first 20 years of her life, her father sexually abused her, trafficked her, and subjected her to satanic ritual abuse. She was completely disassociated and depressed until the age of 27, when finally she started therapy after giving birth to a second daughter. After dealing with and learning what triggers her depression, the memories of her past started to surface. After the first memory came up, she was shocked and devastated. After the first memory came up, she was shocked and devastated. And at that time, it was the first time ever that her life started to add up and make sense. It felt like a puzzle. Pieces of her life finally started to connect. So for 5 months after, she started remembering and confronted her parents and siblings and shared with them all that she remembered. Her father denied everything, and her mother pretended not to know what she was talking about. Today, she is a specialist in her field for psychosomatic therapy. One, let us welcome Naomi to the podcast. Naomi, welcome to Emerge and Empower. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. And I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Dr. Lynn.
Thank you so much. And I am truly happy that you have joined us on today and wanted to share your traumatic experience. Go ahead and introduce yourself to our guests.
I'm Naomi Murad. I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia, and I specialize in helping my clients heal the trauma that is related to the difficulty they're dealing with today. The emotions, the feelings, the issue that they feel stuck with today. From my experience, everything that we're stuck with today, every pain that we're dealing with is related to early childhood trauma, related to younger parts of ourselves that are still stuck in trauma. It's like time capsules, frozen in time, that are still waiting to be rescued and to be saved. And when we bring healing to those parts, then our lives truly begin to transform.
Indeed, indeed. As I was reading, of course, in our pre-interview, and for me to hear your story, it's always a difficult time about going through confrontation. But let's just dive right into your story on today, Naomi. Take us to the beginning. Take us to what you remember. Take us to what brought you back, like you said, years later to realize that something was wrong.
Well, growing up, I was completely dissociated. The abuse began very, very early, like really literally a few days old. Those are my first memories, but those memories only started kicking in when I was 28. Until then, my life did not make sense. I felt like everything inside of my body was like pitch black. I was depressed a lot, even though I was happily married. I already had 2 children. I had a really good life.
Mm-hmm.
And still, I didn't understand why I would continuously fall back into depression.
Mm-hmm.
But it was manic depression. So I was on a high, then I was on a low. So, there was some relief constantly coming in.
Right.
After I gave birth to my second daughter, I fell into a black hole and I could not get out. And 8 months later, a friend of mine said, listen, I know this psychotherapist, psychosomatic therapist. He's really helped me. I said, great, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where my journey began. And I started first dealing with my depression and learning what gets me depressed, understanding that every time I get angry, I fall into a depression. I had no awareness of that. I had no awareness that there was even a trigger, that I had any responsibility or any power is the right word in my own, like creating my own well-being. And the more I learned what gets me depressed, I learned to backtrack. And eventually, once I understood the trigger, it was amazing. My depression would dissolve within seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Every time again. So once I had mastered that and I was not depressed anymore, that's when my childhood memories began to surface. And it was until that moment I felt like I was locked inside a cage within my body. I literally had like a vision of like a prison cell and me locked inside that prison cell. And the day that I remembered, it was like that first flash of memories, and it was like that prison door cracked open inside of me. And at first I asked myself, can this be real? Can this be true? Like I was shocked. Like if you would have told me even a week before that this is what happened to me, most likely I would have said, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's really the power of dissociation.
Yes.
You're only ready when you're ready to cope with whatever you need to cope with.
And
Not
true.
one day before.
And true.
So yeah, that's when my memories began to emerge, and it was one after another. It was slow at first. Every memory at first was like completely overwhelming. And
Take your time.
the pain was just overwhelming. Like I didn't know at times whether I had the courage, the strength, or the will to face my past. Like the more I remember, the more devastating it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one day I was driving home, and my girls were very little then. They were, I think, maybe 2 and 4, 3 and 5. And I was thinking about whether I want to crash into the tree or not, whether I
Wow.
wanted to live or to die.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, it was like it really was a turning point in my life, because in that moment I was reminded of my children,
Mm-hmm.
and I just couldn't bear for them to grow up without me. But I also knew that I couldn't continue living like that. I couldn't be like with one leg in and
Right.
one leg out. I had to make a decision. And once I decided that I was going to live, I decided that I was going to live 100%, that I was going to
Yes.
live wholeheartedly, and whatever it took, I was going to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And once I had that realization, I had like an understanding or knowing that I can heal 100%. And from that day on, every therapist that I went to, then in those days, the years
Mm-hmm.
after, where a lot of healing took place,
Right.
I told them I'm going to heal 100%. And they would look at me and they wouldn't know what to say. They were like,
Right.
yeah, I don't know if
It
100%.
takes time.
You can heal, but 100%. And I was like, no, it's going to be 100%. For me, it was either I go 100% in or I'm out.
Or not.
Or not. There
Yes.
was no middle ground. That was
Yes.
like my 100% commitment. Maybe my 100% healing, now that I think about it, was my 100% commitment to my healing.
Yes.
I never thought of it until the second.
That's it. You were totally in, and you know that you wanted that.
Yeah.
So you did what you needed to do. So we're talking about you being 27, coming to, I guess, now associate, because you disassociated for 27 years. So you mentioned from a baby, like from the womb. All right. So let's go there. Let's take people through what that was like for you as you come back into remembrance.
It was painful. It was overwhelming. It took over my life. Like I could barely be present. The first 5 years after remembering, I
Right.
was like, yes, I was being a mom. I did what I needed to do. I
Right. Right.
took care of my children, but emotionally, it took everything I had.
Yeah.
Like all of my energy went into healing, and every memory. And also during those days,
Mm-hmm.
I also started studying. I knew that I wanted to help people
Right.
heal even before my memories came up, but I didn't know how I wanted to help people. I knew it wasn't the traditional path of
Right.
traditional therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I was also always very connected to the whole body-mind connection.
Yeah.
So I started my first training was 3 years of intense body work. It was a technique, was called the Greenberg method, where you learn how to work with the body, and through the body you start working through the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of memory that is stored within our cells starts to come up to surface, and you work through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a great technique, and I learned a lot. And I'm very grateful for these 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I understood that I became an expert in awakening trauma, but I didn't have enough tools. So as I was studying and also reliving my own trauma, I
Right.
kept needing to go to other people for help because I didn't have enough tools. I felt like
Right.
whatever I had and whatever I was given, it wasn't enough.
Right.
It wasn't like I needed a lot of support at that time. That is the truth. A lot.
I'm glad you mentioned that because as we open up about the trauma, there's one thing to open up, but then what next? What to do? How to heal? How to close that door? How to confront it? How to forgive yourself? There are so many layers that you have to go through because it's one thing to talk, but you also have to be ready to sit with others. You have to be ready to be mentored, to be counseled. There's so much involved more than just, oh, I have a story to tell.
It's a commitment. It
Mm-hmm.
really is a commitment to yourself to heal. It's a commitment to make a change. And in my family, nobody wanted to hear about it. I
Right.
confronted my family 5 months after I had remembered, and I had remembered very little within
Right.
the first 5 months. Like I
Mm-hmm.
only remembered being raped by my dad only.
Right.
I didn't remember any of the satanic ritual abuse. I didn't remember being trafficked for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember any of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also the memories, like I said before, we remember what we're capable to deal with at
Right.
each moment in time.
Right.
It's not like you open that door
It's a
and you start
coping.
remembering.
It's
Yeah,
a coping mechanism. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a coping mechanism. It's not like so often people are afraid to touch their pain because they
They
feel
don't
like
exactly. They don't
they
want to
can't,
feel.
they don't want to feel. But on the other hand, that pain shows up in everything that we do.
Yes.
Everything.
Whether you don't want to address it or not,
It's
everything that you do is being affected by what you think you don't want to deal with. It goes into your relationships with yourself, with others, even down to the way you dress.
every
Okay, every detail of your life. So that's why it's important to address it. A lot of people wonder why their relationships always end up a certain way. It is because you did not address. You're ignoring. So in other words, you're bleeding, right? And you're not taking care of the wound.
exactly. Exactly. Very, very well said.
Okay. So your memory, that first memory that came to you, how old were you in that memory?
I was 5 years old. I was in my sister's bedroom on her bed, and my father was touching me. That's all I remembered. I didn't
Hmm.
remember being raped. I just knew it was sexual.
Right. That was the first memory.
That was the first memory.
Hmm. So take us to your next memory.
To be honest, I remember really well the first memory. The next memories, it's like it's a bit of a blur. I have remembered, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds, maybe 1,000 memories over the last 25 years, maybe even
Hmm.
more. Like
Right. Right.
until today, I still have memories come up. But
Right.
the beauty is what I was explaining before. I felt I didn't have enough tools. I needed a lot of support, and I didn't have enough tools to deal with my memories. And every
Hmm.
memory was like so overwhelming. It took me weeks to cope with every memory.
Hmm. Hmm.
Also, the memories were very long and traumatic. They often lasted, the abuse lasted for hours. So it's like a lot of pieces to process
Hmm.
for one memory. It's not I was slapped in the face or my parents beat me up. It took 10 minutes and it was done.
Right.
It was
Right. Right.
often very prolonged. It was hours and hours and one thing and another thing and another
Right.
thing.
Right.
So I kept studying. I studied and studied and studied and studied. I learned so many different somatic therapies
Hmm.
and energy work and whatever I could get my hands on, whatever I thought made sense and brought healing, I
Mm-hmm.
continued studying. I traveled the whole world. I went to South Africa, to England, to Israel, to Germany, within the States. Like I went everywhere
Mm-hmm.
to
For
find,
research.
yes, to find those teachers that knew, that had the knowledge that could take me to the next step.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I often think I wish I knew and I had the tools that I have today. But my search for my own healing today really comes in service to my work with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was going to say, even though it was overwhelming at first, what I've learned with time, that when we have the right tools, yes, it's painful. Every memory is painful. I still have memories. I think almost every week I still have a memory come up. Even today, after 25 years,
Wow.
there's still things coming up, because
Yeah.
think about it. 20 years of my life, the first 20 years of my life,
Mm-hmm.
were completely wiped out. And the abuse was ongoing from age 0 to 20 until I left my parents' house.
Wow. Wow.
So there's,
So all this time, like you were saying, you knew that you wanted to help others, but you had not. Subconsciously, all of your pain and was locked away. You knew something was wrong. You knew, for one, you needed help. And you also knew that other people needed help, because a lot of times we come into our why. It is because of an experience that we ourselves have gone through. And now we want to not only heal ourselves, but you know what? I believe I can help others. So it became your why. So your research to find help for yourself and also to help others has equipped you to be very effective in what it is that you're doing today. So for those who are watching, I want you to understand, sometimes we say, well, I won't go to a therapist, but I can say this to you. Most of the therapists, that is their why. They too had gone through an experience. So some people are like, I'm not going to go to this, that. They don't know what I went through. These are the type of therapists, psychologists and different people, mental health coach, transformative coach. All of them have gone through some type of experience. And today that becomes their why. A lot of us like, well, I'm not going to know this. They don't understand me. Well, in this field, there is a great understanding, because I have yet to find someone who had not gone through, or a family member who had not gone through. So it's very close to home. So if you're looking for that empathy, you understand? Because we don't put in sympathy, all right? And so that's what it is. So you didn't know what it was. You knew something was wrong. So as you went through the pain, would you say it was erased immediately in your mind, or you just decided to disassociate every time? Or as you talk about the satanic rituals, you think that might be another influence for your memory?
what you mean, why I remembered, or
Why you forgot?
why I forgot? The first memory I have is I'm 12 days old, and my father is programming me that there's very sophisticated ways to program children, especially in
Hmm.
satanic ritual abuse. They are masters in programming the children not to talk, and
Yeah.
to it was like, I would know when to make the switch. Like I would only have to look at my father in order to know, okay, now I'm gone.
But you are 12 days old.
12 days old, that's when when he first touched me.
Hmm. Hmm.
And while I was being sexually touched,
Hmm.
he programmed me. He said certain things to me. Part of the programming was always choking related.
Wow.
So there was always that fear of death. And that was
Hmm.
also always the threat. Like if I would ever talk, I would be
Right.
killed instantaneous.
That's always one, the number one that abusers go to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of choking, a lot of times in my life where I lost consciousness, where I didn't think I was going to make it. Countless
Uh-huh.
memories where I thought like, okay, this is it. That's it. I didn't think I would come back.
Mm-hmm.
So really taking me to the edge. And basically from that moment of 12 days old, I made that split. I knew that this is the only way to survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that happened for everything that happened afterwards. And the truth is, I even in the womb, I knew what was waiting for me. And I did not want to be born.
I remember we talked about this in the pre-interview, and it also, because I say your revelations are coming every day. There are new things that are coming every day as you go through the healing journey. And I remember that I had memories from in the womb, like, this is something's happening. You understand? So it didn't, for me, 4 years old was when, that first encounter physically happened. But when I look back and I start thinking, I would say to my mom, like, there were fights, there were arguments, there were things that happened where my father did certain things and they came to me like dreams.
Mm.
So I would say to my mom, I keep having this dream. And she was like, you were too young, you didn't remember, you were one, or you were two. But she said, no, they weren't dreams, they were real. So when you talked about from in the womb of being aware that here's what's going to happen, it was like no lie, because I can go back to being in the womb. It's like I'm having memories of, you know what, this is happening. I felt like I was penetrated from within the womb. That's how deep, okay, it was. So, and I want to put a pin here when people tell people to get over, when they've gone through things, to tell them to get over it.
That doesn't work.
That does not work, and you are not helping. Actually, you're creating an issue. All right, because you cannot get over this. This becomes your life, and even if we are on here talking about it, sharing, we're still on our healing journey. We're just brave enough to confront, deal with, bring it to awareness to the people in our lives when, of course, they reject, deny, all these things that happen, choose not to believe the child, choose to sometimes get the children out of the home. In my case, I was sent away from the home. So the other person, the abuser, was chosen. So I want us to understand that when children come to you and say someone has touched them, something has happened, this is not a go sit down moment. That's not true. I don't believe you. This is for you as that adult to be alert and understanding, caring, investigate, do your best to protect this child, okay? And not to alienate, not to mistreat. We've heard where women, fathers have called their daughters certain names and all of this stuff. I'm saying this today, that is stemming from that person trying to remove the incident from themselves, okay? And so I'm glad you said that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people here, as you're watching, you're realizing, wow, no lie, there is more to this. So continue, Naomi.
So I was talking about the womb.
Yes.
We can hear inside the womb and we can sense the energy. It's people think that we're not aware, but we are aware always, even if we can't remember,
Yeah.
physically remember. And that's why psychosomatic therapy so much speaks to me, because a lot of things we don't have maybe words for, but it stays in our bodies.
Yes.
Everything that happens to us, every feeling, every sensation, every memory, everything with the energy, you walk into space and you feel somebody's angry, you feel it in your body.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, your body tenses up.
Mm-hmm.
Or you walk somewhere and like everyone is sad, it will affect you. In the same way, everything that we experience has an effect, and it's in our bodies. So when we ignore that things are stored, memories, feelings, emotions are stored in our bodies, then we can't really heal. Because unless we understand that connection and we address both the feeling, emotion, and also the felt body sense, we are stuck. We cannot, because our conscious mind doesn't have the ability to process a lot of things. We don't remember in here, in our cognitive brain and our frontal cortex.
Yes.
We don't have that capacity. It's only when we bypass the thinking mind and we go and access our bodies, our subconscious spirit. That's when true healing takes place. That's where the memories come from. That's where the biggest healing. It's when we become present to those parts that are lost in trauma. When I become present to that 12-day-old younger part. When I become present to that 5-year-old that I first saw with my father in the room.
Right.
When I become present to all of those parts and become witness. And, you said before, we have to listen to our children. When they say someone is hurting us, we have to listen. Because, or our friends.
Yes.
People don't make up these things. We think that people make up stories, but there's things that your mind wouldn't even think of making up. Okay? There's a reason. It's a cry for help.
Yes. Yes. So you talked about sexual trafficking. So this also played. So it started from home, and this played out in, let's say, was it at certain rituals that was happening, or was it at different types of exposure?
The trafficking was, I would be used for pornographic movies. I would be sold by the hour. I would be sold for every hour of the night when I was 8.
Wow. 8?
8. Wow. I would be sold for the day. Just random people that my father wanted to please, that he was doing business with, or influential, wealthy people, or whoever, whoever was happy to pay. And it wasn't like we didn't have money. We were actually very wealthy. So it wasn't from a place where, I need to sell my child in order
because I need,
No. I mean, it was another source of income for sure, but it wasn't because we needed the income. It was just his passion. It was his thing. The satanic ritual abuse, the trafficking, it was like a whole obsession.
And so now you confront all of this, and the reaction, this was to the whole family, or was just you and your mom and dad talking, or was this like a family meeting?
It was, I invited all of my family. We all lived in different places at this point in time, and I invited everyone to my parents' house.
Okay.
And it was amazing because when I invited everyone, it was like everyone knew what it was about.
Wow.
It's like they knew and they didn't know.
Right.
Like the dissociation was there, but they knew why they were coming. It was just by the comments that they made.
Right.
And when I got there, I had written, I was very naive at the time. And my dream, my childish dream, because I never felt like we had, like there was always a lot of secrets in my family. Lots of things we were not allowed to talk about. And as I would sit down at the table and I would open my mouth, my father would tell me, Naomi, silence is golden. And I would shut up.
Wow.
I was considered the clumsy one. I was the youngest of four, the stupid one. Like I was like the
Don't
dumb.
believe her. The don't believe her one. Yeah.
So I had this desire, this dream, this illusion that if I would go home and I will confront my dad and I will tell him everything that I remember.
Right.
And I wrote a letter to my mom and a letter to my siblings, and I photocopied like 30 pages to everyone with all the letters to all the family members. And I thought if I would confront everyone and I would share what happened, my dad would apologize, and we could finally, I would help lift that family secret, and we could finally be one happy family.
Right.
That's why I went. I thought I could save the family, I could fix it, and I could And I remember the therapist I was working with at the time, she was begging me not to go. It was 5 months after.
Yeah, it's fresh. You still trying to get a handle of things.
I'm still trying to get a handle of things. And also I went like from the wrong place. I went in order to fix something that you can't just fix like that.
Right.
Also, I didn't remember that much. I only remembered very little at that point.
Right.
So I sat down with my dad in a separate room. I gave everyone else the pack of letters. I said, read while I sit with him. I read every letter where I describe how he rapes me out loud to him.
And you're talking about 12 days old, so they're like, you're crazy.
No, actually, the 12 days memory only came a few years later.
Oh, okay.
That was not during that.
Okay.
But my dad denied everything, ice cold. He's like, oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, he didn't get angry. He wasn't upset. He was like totally under 100% control, showed no emotion, just ice cold. And then later we met up in the kitchen. He said, I'm sorry, I don't know what she's talking about.
Wow.
And my siblings, the only thing that I remember that they said to me, apart from the fact that they didn't know, they were scared to the bone themselves. You know, it took me time to understand that, you know.
Did they too experience this, to your knowledge?
I cannot speak for my siblings.
Okay.
But I understood months later that this was a big threat to them. And that it was, you know, we all have to cope with our own story.
Right. Everyone have to tell their own story.
Everyone has to tell their own story, and me telling my story doesn't help them tell their story.
And they were older than you, so you being the little, you know, that means there was already a history. There was already a pattern. But again, you're the youngest one. So this is you coming out, telling your story, the one that was brave enough.
Maybe the one that was strong enough to cope with what happened.
Yeah, true.
Maybe, I don't know. You know, I do wonder sometimes, is it for all of us to remember and to cope?
Right.
I don't know. I do have that question. I think that when the memories do come up, that means we do have the ability to cope. I strongly believe that. I want to say I know that. Otherwise, the memories wouldn't come up.
So you're in this atmosphere. You said it. People have been reading. And you're not getting what you expected.
Far from it. And it's sad, funny to look back at that weekend. And the only thing I remember my siblings saying beyond saying, I don't know what to do with this, they said to me, one thing that is clear is that these letters were not written by a crazy person. And that was the best part of the weekend.
Indeed. Indeed.
And lots of difficulties after that. If anything, it just tore the family even further apart.
Usually that's what happens.
And it became, until today, it's impossible really to be a
Yeah.
family. Like there is contact here and there. Some are more
Right,
in
right,
touch with each
right,
other, some are less, others never talk.
right.
But it's a pink elephant that's standing in the room, and as much as they try to ignore it, it's there.
It's there. You can't
It's
ignore.
there. You can't unknow what you know. You can't
Right.
undo what's been done. The
It's
best thing you
true.
can do is cope with it and move forward and find your way to live with it for each and every one of us in the family. And I don't even blame them, you know.
Right. No,
It's I,
no.
I understand we all each have our own
Yes.
path to walk.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the best we can do.
Right. And I'm glad you said that because there are, and I've spoken, and I'm sure you have too, those who truly do not want to talk about this with family because they know it's going to destroy the family, it's going to destroy certain relations and all of that. But in the end, you must know you're not the only one because these things repeat. They repeat unto the generations, okay? It repeats and it stems off into nieces, nephews, it goes on. So
Yep.
while you think you're not telling, you actually are actually causing the person to continue. Okay, they're getting better at what they're doing. So when you think it was only you, I want you to know it's not only you. And it's happening. Okay, and it continues happening until this person is apprehended or it's come to light. A lot of people do not want to cause friction in the family, so they choose not to share their story because this is going to devastate our family. But it's a lie. If the family is living on a lie, so what you call you do not want to separate, everyone's living in a lie. So it's best that the truth is told and everyone, at least this way you're protecting that person who were feeling uncomfortable at family gatherings. So they don't have to show up. You understand what I'm saying? They can choose not to come. I understand why they're not here. Instead of causing people to keep gathering together in these uncomfortable situations, repeating these cycles. A lot of people come away from Thanksgiving, Christmas, all of these family gatherings broken. Okay.
True.
They spend the rest of the year trying to put their life together for maybe a 1 day or 3 hour meeting that everybody came together for. So I think as we're on here, families who are watching, mothers, fathers who are watching, who are not understanding why so and so doesn't come home,
They probably don't feel safe.
that's the reason. That is exactly the reason. So I'm glad that we're talking about this because it's major. It's major. I had a particular young lady that I had to help. She did not want to talk to anyone because these people was in the house every day, 3, 4 times a week they were there. But nobody knew what she was facing, what she was dealing to, why she had to hide in her room, why she didn't feel safe to be. And this went on for years. And the thing was, I don't want to break the relationship. I said, they did that when they touch you. Okay? That was already done. And once she told the story, yes, there was separation of family, but it was necessary. Okay, these things are necessary because we still have to continue protecting the individual. And it didn't stop with one person. Okay, it repeated to others.
That's the
So
thing.
no,
It
being
repeats itself.
silent is actually a killer.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, Naomi. So we're still in this living room and leaving and family separation. But you have your children. When did you tell them? When did they know that your truth?
Oh, um, Very early. My daughters earlier than my sons who came a few years later.
Mm-hmm.
Our whole family relationship changed. I
Oh,
did not allow my father to come and see us. I stopped all contact. We didn't really go to family gatherings.
yes.
We, my mother and I, there were years when we didn't speak. It was complicated.
Yeah.
And, and even though I didn't go into detail of, gory detail of what was done
Right.
to me, I did tell them. I did tell them that their grandfather sexually abused me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why we're not talking to them. And
And they're understanding why that relationship is the way it is.
yeah, and it was challenging on many levels. And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, holidays. We often did holidays alone, or we would go to friends, or
Mm-hmm.
it was always like a very painful period. And
Yes.
even if we were invited during times where we did speak with my mother and,
Right.
and would get together with the family later in the years, it would be always my dad was first. Even though my parents were separated at that point in time and all, but it was always my dad had first preference. So we would maybe come the day after for lunch or not come at all. But there was it wasn't easy. And our boys, we told, they already were born into this new reality. So
Right.
it was a different upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And we told them later, like they knew something happened, but
Right. Right. Right.
it was really only like in their teens, mid-teens,
Right.
that they started asking questions, and
Mm-hmm.
I started sharing more. And one wanted to know everything, and the other
Right.
one didn't want to
There's
hear.
always there's always that one.
He
There's
always like,
always one who wants to know, and there's one who I really
yeah,
don't.
yeah. Like one of them, he was like, "Mom, I don't talk to me about these things. I don't want to hear it." And the other
Hmm.
one was like, "Just give it to me. I want to
Right.
know it all. I want to understand it all,
It's
and
true.
tell me
It's
about
true.
this, and tell me about the
Hmm.
satanic ritual abuse." And like he wanted to know everything. He was,
Yes.
and the other one, it was hard to deal with, and it is a lot,
But
understandably
I
so.
believe it brings awareness, and your children are not only aware of the people that are around them, their surroundings, what to look for. They're more alert, so they're not saying life like whatever. They know that these are real things because here's what happened to mom. So that means I don't know about you, I did no sleepovers. My kids never did sleepovers at anybody's house as a result.
I can very much relate to that. I did allow my kids to have sleepovers, but I can tell you, I would look at the family 10 times, and I would look at the dad. And that was the first thing I looked at when I met the families, like, who
Hmm.
are you people? And do I feel I can trust you? And some people, I wouldn't want them to go to their house.
Right.
And they would like argue with me. And why? And why can't I go there? I said, child is welcome to come to our place, but no
Right. I did the other way. I say they could come over to me. Yeah.
problem. They're welcome to come, but no, you're not sleeping over there. Or,
Hmm.
yeah.
Wow. 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 So Naomi, I really thank you for what you brought to share, and I believe a lot of our audience that are on here today. Um, this is a whole different level. It goes even more in depth. Like I said, every person that comes on, their story has a little bit more depth. There's more to it. But it's at the end of the day, it's still pain. It's still a trauma, and people are healing daily. And I believe we're gonna have to bring you here for part two because we really couldn't. We're just like touching the surface here. So we'll bring Naomi back. Okay, so
I
we'll
think
do a
we can
part
come back.
two
Okay.
continuation. So that way she can talk and also speak to you as the specialist that she has become in the field, not only through experience, but how to help you once you have come to this realization once you, everything that you had disassociated from, that you brought it together and how to deal and how to handle that, how to live a productive life, a not blaming yourself life, how to take you out of that black hole of depression that want to suck you in like a quicksand. These are necessary, but you need to find the right people to talk to. All right, you must find the right people to talk to. So, Naomi, as we are closing out this segment, what message would you want to relay to an individual that has still in that place of, I think it happened, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to go back there person? And then we're going to talk to the parents of a child who had gone through that experience.
Ask me again. I think you asked me.
What would you say to that individual who is still, I don't want to talk, something happened, I
Okay.
don't want to deal with it, but I know it happened, what would you say to that individual?
I would say that the pain is there, whether they deal with it or not. And they are right now alone in that pain.
Mm-hmm.
And we often think, like you said before, that we can't imagine that anyone could possibly understand what
Yes.
happened to them. And
Indeed.
there's a deep healing power in having someone sit with you and become witness to your story.
Mm-hmm.
When you start opening that story and opening your pain and starting to heal, that's when you begin to talk, or when you begin to take responsibility. As long as we don't talk and we hide, we're in hiding.
Yep.
And we are playing, continuing to be in that victim mode.
Mm-hmm.
And once we take responsibility and we say, okay, I want to get better. And this is really the most important part, because I always say I cannot help anyone who doesn't want to be helped. I can't. I could be the most amazing therapist on this planet, but if the person in front of me does not want to heal, I cannot help them. So
Nope.
the first step is to make that choice, to take that step and say, okay, I want a change. I want something different. And that something different has to be bigger than sitting in that aloneness and that depression and the pain that you're in. And
Yes.
the pain that we're in is the most comfortable place to be in. As funny as this sounds, it's familiar. We've had it our own whole lives.
Whole life.
We pet it. We say, oh,
Yep.
I hear you. I feel you. We wallow in our own pain
Mm-hmm.
because we know it's comfortable. And to step
Yes.
out of that pain takes courage and it takes strength. It's true. And it's when your life begins to change. And that's another scary thing for people. They don't like change because they think that change is scary. To
Right.
me, it's much scarier to stay
Stay.
in your same pain and frustration and loneliness. To be stuck in that is, in my point of view, a lot scarier.
Yes.
You can only gain by taking that step.
Yes.
So that's my 5 cents.
That's it. So today we would say to you to choose freedom, because you want to be free from the shackles and the chains that hold you. All right. And choose freedom. All right. Choose freedom. Because though you might not see yourself behind bars, but you are living behind bars. You are living behind your pain. You're living, you're in prison. You're walking around free, but you're in prison. And you should be free. The Bible says, whom he sets free is free indeed. So on today, I would like and ask you to choose freedom. Choose to live. All right? Not exist. There's a big difference between existing. Naomi existed. I existed. Right? But then once we choose to talk about it, confront it, true healing comes, freedom comes, and now you are living instead of existing. You know, when you say, "Oh, I'm in this relationship because of the kids, I'm dealing, da, da, da," you're existing, you're not living. Because when you're truly living, life is beautiful. All right. Life is free and liberating. You know, this is who I am, unapologetically. Be unapologetically you. All right. Whether people like your story or not, this is who you are. And I give you permission today to just take that step, right? Take that step. You've been watching Emerging in Power for a while, but you still haven't spoken. But it's time. It's time to deal with that at this time. So, Naomi, that was the individual. So now let's talk to the circle, the support that they seek, the family, the friends. Let's talk to that circle of people, how to be there for this individual when they do share.
I think one thing is tell them what you need. People don't know. People's first instinct, first of all, they feel often overwhelmed by other people's pain. They don't know what to do and they want to fix it. And the last thing that you want usually is for someone to fix it. You just want someone to be there.
Right.
Ask for it. Ask and say, I know you really want to help me, and I just really need you to listen right now. I need to say what I need to say, and if you could just be there for me.
Yes.
That's all that I need.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Naomi, for being here on the set. And like I said before, we'll be back with part two so Naomi can talk to us further. It's just an hour, guys. We cannot tell someone's story in an hour. It took a lifetime, basically, to be able to talk about it. So it takes time. All right. So we'll be back as Naomi continues with her story and show us how her healing began and what happened with her life as the healing happened, and to help you get on the front row seat of your life. So, Naomi, thank you once again for being here on
Dr.
Emergent Power.
Len.
All right. Thank you. Until next time. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. So I want to thank each and every one of you that have been here on the set with us on today. Again, there is so much that is out there. There's so many stories that are out there. I don't believe, even if I came on every day, 365 days in this year, there will be individuals that still have their stories to tell. That person is in your home, in your neighborhood. That person is a relative. That person probably is a parent or was a parent who dealt with a lot of trauma. They dealt with a lot of bipolar or even schizophrenia, which was also stemming from a hurt or an experience that they once had in their life, and it is taking a toll. There are people who are in physical prison right now due to something that had happened to them as a child. Let us heal today. Let us heal for real, because the journey of healing is continuous. And I want to encourage you to get in the front row seat of your life and make that decision. It starts today. And also, the psychological and generational curse stops today. We need to stop saying it is what it is. We need to let go. We need to truly heal. The world we live in right now, if you look on news, on your streets, neighborhood, schools, it's all hurt. And we call it mental health. Well, guess what? Mental health is stemming from some form of trauma. Not all are sexual. Some of it is verbal abuse, how you treat individuals, how you live. We must allow people to grow. We must allow people to heal. Don't shame. The bullying is also trauma. So it's time to heal. It's never too young because children are being bullied in kindergarten, preschool, elementary, middle, high, and into the school of life. All of that is trauma. I tell you this, you remembered somebody who said something to you when you was in elementary school. You've never forgot what they said to you. Some of you are still trying to prove that you're better than what was said to you. That was trauma. You're living that out. So let's heal for real. Let me pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for everyone, every listener that had connected today, tomorrow, next year, in the future. Whenever they are watching this, I want them to realize that you are speaking to them for their healing and for their breakthrough. Let the healing be continuous. Let your children be free, for you came to set the captives free. And whom you set free are truly free indeed. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time.
Welcome to Emerge and Empower Podcast TV, a platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m., with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.